What's up, guys? Thanks for tuning in to the latest news wave. We got a lot of news going through today, so let's get right into it. You're one of the lucky people to actually get an NES Classic this past month. Well, you probably noticed right away that the cords for the controllers are really short. Well, 8-Bit Do actually came out with a solution for this. So if you don't know about 8-Bit Do, they actually come out with basically receivers for the Nintendo, the Super Nintendo. They let you sync up different things, including their proprietary wireless controllers that look very similar to Nintendo or Super Nintendo controllers, and they also let you sync up things like PS4 controllers to the system. Well, they must have heard all the fans out there yelling and screaming about the tiny cables where you end up sitting 6 feet from your 50-inch TV, and they decided to make a receiver that will actually plug into NES Classic and it'll let you sync up either their NES 30 controller, their Super Nintendo 30 controller, or even your PS4 controller, and you can actually end up programming the buttons to how you want them to be. And they just popped up on Amazon as far as I can tell today, and you can actually go, you can buy just the receiver if you already have a PS4 controller, and pretty much put the other Nintendo controllers away, never touch them, and you can sit far back from the system. Keep in mind though, you still have to go to the system and press the reset button if you want to change games, so that kind of fixes one part, I guess. And after the Video Game Awards, it seems like Konami got put on blast even more than they did when they actually got rid of Kojima. After Jeff Keighley took the stage, made this massive speech, heartfelt speech, I guess, from him. I don't know, it seemed a little out there, but the speech he gave meant a lot, I guess, to him and Kojima as well, because, of course, last year he could not attend the Game Awards because Konami decided to block him from going because it would have had something to do with Metal Gear Solid 5 that he was not a part of at that point. And in an interview, Jeff actually came out and said that Kojima was actually removed from his team, locked essentially in an office floors away from his team, and he was not to talk to them. He actually had to talk to people to then go talk to his team that was helping him build Metal Gear Solid 5. And this actually came well into development towards the end, and this could actually explain why the ending of the game seems so rushed. I mean, when you get to the end, it all happens so quickly and you're done. That was actually one of the biggest complaints from critics, is that you end up going through this long, massive storyline leading up to the end, and then the end is so rushed and quick that it didn't feel right. And there you go. Maybe that's what happened. Maybe because he was removed from his team and put on a completely different floor and basically having to go through someone to say anything to them, maybe he lost kind of the willingness to do it at that point, because Konami basically already had him out the door. They just need to finish this game. And you know what? Even his friends were coming to his aid at this point after the award show aired. So this morning, Guillermo del Toro, who's actually working in collaboration with Kojima for the new Death Stranding game, decided to come out and put out a very elegant tweet. As you see here, he was very nice to Konami today. Basically what happens is, after I guess he heard about this, I have to assume Kojima was not a very public person when it came to any of this. He was probably trying to keep calm and not blow it out of proportion or anything. I'll give it to Kojima. He did a really good job here. Of course, there was also probably a lot of things like money and lawyers involved, so he kept his mouth shut, and I assume at this point Del Toro just found out or didn't know much about what was happening behind the scenes, and after seeing the way Konami was basically treating Kojima, his friend, he decided to let the world know how he felt about Konami. You know, I can't really blame Del Toro about this because it does seem pretty inhumane on Konami's part. The way they treated him, almost like they were trying to disgrace him on the way out, it seemed very odd, and a lot of fans agree as well, as you can see in that tweet, where basically a lot of people were egging him on and basically saying that they did not like Konami. And I guess that's understandable. Like I said, it's his friend, he's defending his friend. Maybe next time, don't make it so blunt and obvious what you're trying to do. Maybe do something like how Norman Reedus did, where he actually photoshopped Konami tears from, you know, Kojima drinking out of a glass. That was actually pretty good. And if you were a fan of Pokemon Go when it came out and you kind of fell out of it, might be time to get back into it. There's a big Christmas update coming out, and a lot of people are speculating that this is when we get the extra 100 Pokemon. The next generation of Pokemon might show up to Pokemon Go later on this month. And it's supposed to be a Christmas event, so they're gonna add things like extra experience, different Pokemon, things like that. And a lot of people think this is when we start to see the second gen Pokemon come in from Gold and Silver. And if you know how Pokemon Go works, you do have to go outside, and we're getting to winter time where we're gonna have what is essentially a seasonal drop-off because people just don't want to go outside when it's cold, and if there's inclement weather like snow, it's going to be very difficult to go outside. So you're going to have a lot of people end up staying inside, and playing Pokemon Go inside is not easy. You're supposed to travel and you're supposed to go out and explore. So doing things like having extra spawns near a house, maybe make the spawn rate better when you're standing still, or adding just new Pokemon in general. So even if you're around the household and a common pops up from Generation 2 that's still new for the person, double the experience, there you go, they're having a more enjoyable time. We don't know exactly what's going to happen with this update. There's just a lot of speculation. A lot of people are essentially assuming that Gen 2 is coming just to try to make the game pick up a little more. A lot of people will check it back out when the next generation of Pokemon show up. They have said that they are coming, and this seems like the best time to do it, to give it a little uptick in what would be a down time for a seasonal game. And it looks like Amazon Germany may have actually leaked the release date for Yooka Laylee. Now, if you don't know what Yooka Laylee is, it's basically the spiritual successor to Banjo-Kazooie. Now, I know most of us had to have played Banjo-Kazooie on the N64, or even when they re-released it on the 360. It's a great game, it's a lot of fun, and basically a lot of the employees left Rare to go off to make their own game, and it was pretty much put out there that, yes, this is basically a successor to Banjo-Kazooie. That's why the art style looks so similar, the gameplay looks so similar. That's what it is. So when they left, they actually made a company called Playtronic, and since then they've been releasing stills and video and all kinds of stuff to promote this game. And now we may have a release date. They've said for a while it's Q1 of 2017, and Amazon actually put out, this is Amazon Germany, actually put out a release date of March 17th, which would fall perfectly in line with when a lot of games come out, usually March, April, and that would still fall in the Q1 time. Also, which is really cool, they actually having Shovel Knight be a part of the game. They're going to bring him in, have him as a crossover. It should be kind of neat, just a little extra tidbit. But we'll see if it's March. It looks to be March 17th. That makes sense. Amazon does leak release dates quite frequently, so I would not be surprised if this is the date for Yooka Laylee to come out, March 17th. And in the last bit of news today, Square Enix actually came out and said Final Fantasy 15 is the best-selling Final Fantasy currently in this time span, which means that it is the fastest-selling Final Fantasy and will probably become the best-selling Final Fantasy over time. This is great news considering they came out the other day and said Final Fantasy 16 will happen if 15 sells well. And on all accounts, they've shipped and sold through digital over 5 million units at this point, which is a lot considering it just came out pretty recently. I think this is kind of expected considering the game's been in development for nearly 10 years at this point. It started out as a different game, kind of morphed into Final Fantasy 15 after a while. There's been so many trailers and screenshots and talking that it only makes sense for all these gamers to come together and buy this game. I mean, it's been a while. 13, I think, left a bad taste in a lot of people's mouths. They were waiting for this new Final Fantasy 15 game to come out that looked super epic, huge bosses and everything. So that makes sense, and at this point, I think it's pretty obvious that Final Fantasy 16 will be made eventually, and it's pretty obvious since Final Fantasy 7 is being remade that we will see a continuation of the series, and I'm sure that will sell tremendous also. That's going to do it today for Newswave, guys. Let me know what you think of all the little stories, and definitely let me know if you're going to get one of the NES Classic wireless receivers. I'd be curious to see how they do, and let me know what you think of Konami versus Kojima. Just keep it okay in the comments. I know it can get very passionate against Konami right now because of their take on video games, but that'll do it today, guys, and I will see you next time.